This last session really is to look at, I guess we've talked a lot today, well I say we, you've talked a lot today, about, and all the hard work, talking about great innovation and what it could mean in the future in terms of helping patients with better outcomes. But I guess the reality is it only becomes that if we find a way of getting from the invention and early innovation to actually getting it scaled up and tested and taken to patients. So I'm delighted to have this esteemed panel to my left. Those of you who had looked at the program a couple of days ago would have realized I should have been Mike Ward doing this. Mike, unfortunately, for personal reasons, couldn't be here, but we have got his twin brother, who's almost as flamboyant with the same hairstyle. So I'm sure he'll keep us in track as being the wise owl he is. But Mike gave us some guidance on what he thought we should talk about, and I'll follow some of that and probably surprise the panel with things that weren't on the list at all, but just came to me as we went. But if that's okay. So I'm going to, in a moment, we'll move to the panel now and ask them to introduce themselves, but perhaps just to set the scene of thinking how do we then innovate and industrialize and some of the challenges. Give your take on where does invention finish and innovation start in this space? Because we fund a lot of basic research that gives us new things, but where do we then move into, when does innovation take over from research in that sense? So Cathy, maybe we'll start with you.
Okay, I get to start, thank you. Cathy Tralau-Stewart, I'm Executive Director of the Milner Institute at University of Cambridge. I'm a pharmacologist by background. I've done a lot of taking projects from the lab to the clinic, from academia and industry. Now, invention versus, what was it? You had innovation. You know, my belief is that the whole process is innovation. Of course, invention kicks in, and I think the strict definition for me, and I know others would deny it, is actually that when you feel you have something that you can patent, it's invention. And these days, that's not targets. It's much further along. Everything else is innovation, and innovation carries on through to the clinic and possibly beyond.
Jane?
Yeah, okay, can you hear me okay? So I'm Jane Dancer. Actually, I kind of follow on from Cathy a bit because I work in companies where actually someone's done the hard work, like Cathy, in getting it out of academia. So there's often a company there. Currently, I sit on the board of 5 early-stage companies. They're all pre-seed, seed, maybe Series A. All of them are companies that have platform technologies, and they're using those technologies in some way or another, and we maybe come back later to what in some way or another means, to discover drugs which will then benefit patients somewhere down the line. Prior to this, I actually did have a proper job, work full-time at a company called F-Star, where we actually set up a funky business model for leveraging our platform there. And before that, I had a mixture of roles, both in big pharma and in biotech, in business development, so deal making. So coming back to the question about invention versus innovation, I'm with Cathy a bit on this one. I'm going to be even more extreme because I think actually, yeah, if you file a patent, you need to prove utility. So it's more than just an idea. It's an idea which has some sort of use and benefit. But I would say sometimes when you're thinking about your patent strategy, you don't actually patent right at the beginning. You might wait for a bit. And therefore, actually, I'd say that innovation maybe starts even earlier than when you file your first patent. So right back. So see where you go on that.
Yes, so hi everyone, I'm Veronica and I work for LifeArc. LifeArc, for whom might not be familiar, is a self-funded medical research charity. And yes, I'm representing here the therapeutic platform team, so our antibody discovery and humanization capabilities that we can offer to partners with a convenient business model in order to translate that innovation to that next stage of development in order that gets closer to patients. So coming back to the innovation versus invention, yeah, I agree with my colleagues here on the panel. However, I think that sometimes, in invention, I would say something novel is a novel discovery. Let's say, if, as an example, I would say, let's say in academia, they will discover a novel target, a novel pathway. However, it's an innovation, which is part of the development process when then has a real use, as Jane mentioned, in the sense that is commercially viable, is addressing something that really the market needs. So you are thinking about translating that something in a product. So let's say that target as a therapy that then can, let's say, make impact into patient or into a certain disease. So this is my view around invention and innovation. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks. I'm Claire Thompson. I'm Chief Exec of Agility Life Sciences. We are an award-winning formulation development CDMO. Every day we have got to be innovative because we work with badly behaved molecules. They're all badly behaved, and turning them into products that give them the best chance of success. I think invention is where you put that marker in the sand of this is novel, hopefully has benefit in the future. And innovation is every day after that, because you can't predict how these molecules are going to work, whether your medical device is appropriate. So you have to be innovative at every step after that, either from a scientific or a business model, or a regulatory perspective, to ensure that your invention can become something that is therapeutically beneficial.
Thank you. I'm delighted to have such an experienced panel. Actually, know much more about this topic than I do, so that's always reassuring as the moderator. Just thinking through the sort of things that enable that scale up and that innovation to happen along the pipeline, irrespective of where you file the patent, or is that sporadic as opposed to innovations ongoing. There's three sort of the key elements, I guess, when I think about it. There's money, because someone has to pay for this to happen in one way or another. There's technology, and whether there's technologies that can help, or is the technology scalable, and how you solve some of those badly behaved molecules and things that don't do what they should do. And then there's a people side. Yeah. And they all sort of interrelate to some degree, because I guess this is a partnership thing in most models. If I think about the money side at this point, or the resource maybe I should use rather than money. We've heard, I guess, so many sessions, and quite correctly, the last couple of years has been pretty hard, actually, if you're trying to raise the traditional route of start company, raise funding, raise another round of funding, and get through value inflection. That's challenging for all sorts of reasons, and that's geopolitics, it's world events, it's investors getting maybe risk averse and going later stage, as we've seen announced this week with Syncona. All of those things start to make it challenging for money, but you're all being involved in various times in different models of how to move innovation forward. I just thought maybe, Cathy, you talk a little bit about the Milner and how that facilitates that transition from discovery and the academic base into the companies.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know the Milner Institute, we're a pretty unique model in academia, but anywhere really. And we have three pieces to our model, which is a consortium, and that's a big pharma consortium and an affiliate consortium. Big pharma at the moment, we've got 9 big pharma companies, and we've got 80 affiliate companies involved in our consortium and ecosystem. We also do some research, and we also have an incubator.